can do better justice to our endeavour, as Honey Gabriel presents the opening chorus of Henry V.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. A kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, gentles all, the flat, unraised spirits that have dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in little place 1,000,000, and let us, ciphers to this great account on your imaginary forces, work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined 2 mighty monarchies, whose high, uprearing, and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts, into 1,000 parts divide one man, and make imaginary puissance. Think when we talk of horses that you see them, printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth, for 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings. Carry them here and there, jumping o'er time, turning the accomplishments of many years into an hourglass. For the wit supply, admit me, chorus, to this history, who, prologue like your humble patience, pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play.
And now, Emily McCormick will present Hamlet. The Prince of Denmark, mired in his depression, contemplates whether to live or die.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more. And by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of unworthy takes, when he himself might make his quotas make with a bare bodkin? Who would Fardell's bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life? But that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, for whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard, their currents turn away and lose the name of the action. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia, nymph in thy horizons, be all my sins remembered.
Now please welcome Sorrel Brown to present Viola from Twelfth Night. The Lady Viola, disguised as a young man, receives a ring return from the Countess Olivia.
I left no ring with her. What means this lady? Fortune forbid my outside have not charmed her. She made good view of me. Indeed, so much that sure methought her eyes had lost her tongue, for she did speak in starts distractedly. She loves me. Sure, the cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger. None of my lord's ring. Why, he sent her none. I am the man. Oh, if it be so as 'tis, poor lady, she were better love a dream. Disguise, I see, thou art a wickedness wherein the pregnant enemy does much. How easy is it for the proper false in women's waxen hearts to set their forms? Alas, it is our frailty's cause, not we, for such as we are made of, such we be. How will this fadge? My master loves her dearly, and I, poor monster, fond as much on him, and she, mistaken, seems to dote on me. What will become of this? As I am man, my state is desperate for my master's love. As I am woman, oh, alas the day, what thriftless sighs shall poor Olivia breathe? Ah, time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie.
And now we present Hugh Brentnall, portraying Richard, Duke of Gloucester, from King Richard III. Reflecting on the state of the world and the degree of scorn which is heaped on him, Richard resolves to work against his brother and make himself king.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasings of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor fit to court an amorous looking glass. I that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph. I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, I, in this weak, piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time except to spy my shadow in the sun and descant on mine own deformity. Therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days.
And now we present Roel Fox as Iago from Othello. The villainous Iago plots to turn his rivals Othello and Cassius against each other in mad jealousy.
Cassius loves her. I too well believe it. She loves him. 'Tis apt, and of great credit. The more, albeit I endure him not, is of a constant, loving, noble nature, and I dare think he'll prove to Desdemona a most dear husband. Now I do love her too, not out of absolute lust, though peradventure I stand accounted for as greater sin, but partly led to die of my revenge. For that I do suspect the lusty Moor hath leaped into my seat. The thought whereof doth like a poisonous mineral gnaw my inwards, nothing can or shall content my soul till I am even with him, wife for wife. Or, yet that I put the more into a jealousy so strong, the judgment cannot cure. Which thing to do? If this poor trash of Venice, whom I trash for his quick hunting, stand the putting on, I'll have a Michael Cassius on the hip. Abuse him to the more in the rank garb, for I fear Cassius with my nightcap too. Make the more thank me, love me, reward me for making him egregiously an ass, and practicing upon his peace and quiet, even to madness. Ah, 'tis here, but yet confused. Knavery's plain face is never seen till used.
And now please welcome Rosalyn Mitchell, presenting Edmund from King Lear. Edmund, bastard son of the Duke of Gloucester, laments the scorn the world holds him in, and resolves to use all his cunning to better his state.
Thou, nature, art my goddess. To thy law my services are bound. Wherefore should I stand in the plague of custom and permit the curiosity of nations to deprive me, for that I am some 12 or 14 moonshines lag of a brother? Why, bastard, Wherefore base, when my dimensions are as well compact, my mind as generous, and my shape as true as honest madam's issue? Why brand they us with baseness, with bastardy, base, who, within the lusty stealth of nature, take more composition and fierce quality than doth within a dull, stale, tired bed, go to the creating a whole tribe of fops, got tween sleep and wake. Well then, legitimate Edgar, I must have your land. Our father's love is to the bastard Edmund as to the legitimate. Fine word, legitimate. Well, my legitimate, if this letter speed and my invention thrive, Edmund the base shall top the legitimate. I grow, I prosper. Now, gods, stand up for bastards.
And now we present Gareth Luellan, portraying Shylock from The Merchant of Venice. Shylock, remembering the evils done to him by the Christians of Venice, resolves to exact the full penalty of default upon his enemy Antonio.
To bait fish withal. If it feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. We have disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated mine enemies. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. But have the Jew not eyes? Have a Jew not hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you and the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why, revenge. The villainy you teach me, I will execute, and it shall go hard. But I will better the instruction.
And now, Jonathan Cooper will present Angelo from Measure for Measure. The steward Angelo coerces with his power and privilege that the innocent Isabel yield her virginity to him.
Who will believe thee, Isabel? My unsoiled name, the austereness of my life, my vouch against you, and my place in the state will so your accusation away, that you shall stifle in your own report and smell of calumny. I have begun, and now I give my sensual race the rein. Fit thy consent to my sharp appetite, lay by all nicety and prolixuous blushes that banish what they sue for. Redeem thy brother by yielding up thy body to my will, or else he must not only die the death, but thy unkindness shall his death draw out to lingering sufferance. Answer me tomorrow, or, by the affection that now guides me most, I'll prove a tyrant to him. As for you, say what you can. My false are ways your true.
Please welcome Kit McGuire to present King Richard from King Richard II. King Richard despairs to find that his armies have deserted him, and his cousin Henry Bolingbroke rises in arms against him to seize his royal crown.
No matter where, of comfort no man speak. Let's talk of graves, of worms, of epitaphs. Make dust our paper, and with rainy eyes write sorrow on the bosom of the earth. Let's choose executors and talk of wills, and yet not so. For what can we bequeath save our deposed bodies to the ground? Our lands, our lives, and all our Bolingbroke's. And nothing can we call our own but death and that small model of the barren earth that serves as paste and cover to our bones. Oh, for God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the deaths of kings. How some have been deposed, some slain in war, some haunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping, killed, all murdered. For within this hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king keeps death his court. And there the antic sits, scoffing at his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little scene to monarchize, be feared and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh, which walls about our life, were brass impregnable. And humoured thus comes at the last, and with a little pin bores through the castle walls and farewell, King. Cover up your head. Mock not flesh and blood in solemn reverence. Throw away tradition, form, respect, ceremonious duty, for you have but mistook me all this while. I live with bread like you. Feel want, taste grief, need friends. Subjected thus, how can you say to me, I am a king?
And now please welcome Mimi Brown to present Constance from King John. The Lady Constance, having received news of her son's death in the political turmoil, rails in her grief.
No, I defy all counsel, all redress, but that which ends all counsel, true redress, death. Death. Oh, amiable, lovely death. Thou differous stench, sound rottenness. Arise forth the couch of lasting night, thy hate and terror to prosperity, and I will kiss thy detestable bones. And put my eyeballs in thy vaulted brows, and wring these fingers with the household worms, and stop the rapid breath with fulsome dust, and be a carrion monster like thyself. Come, grin on me, and I will think thou smilest, and bust thee as thy wife. Misery's love come to me. No, No, I will not, having breath to cry, oh, that my tongue were in the thunderous mouth, and with a passion would I shake the world, and rouse from sleep which fell to anatomy, which cannot hear a feeble lady's voice, which scorns a modern invocation. Thou art not holy to belie me so. I am not mad. This hair, I tear, is mine. My name is Constance. I was Geoffrey's wife. Young Arthur is my son, and he is lost. I am not mad. I would to heaven I were, for then 'tis like I should forget myself. If I could, what grief should I forget? Preach some philosophy to make me mad, and thou shalt be canonized, Cardinal, for being not mad, but sensible of grief. My reasonable part produces reason how I may be delivered of these woes, and teaches me to kill or hang myself. If I were mad, I should forget my son, or madly think a babe of clouts were he. I am not mad. Too well I feel the different plague of each calamity. Grief fills up the room of my absent child, lies in his bed, walks up and down with me, puts on his pretty looks, repeats his words, remembers me of all his gracious parts, stuffs out his vacant garments with his form. Then have I reason to be fond of grief? Fare you well. Had you a loss such as I would offer better comfort than you do. I will not keep this form on my head when there is such disorder in my wit. Oh Lord. My boy, my Arthur, my fair son, my life, my joy, my all the world, my widow's comfort, and my sorrow's cure.
We now present Jacob Bedford performing Oliver from As You Like It. The villainous Oliver, plotting against his brother Orlando, persuades the wrestler Charles to kill him in the ring.
Charles, I thank thee for thy love to me, which thou shalt find I will most kindly requite. I myself had notice of my brother's purpose herein, and have by underhanded means laboured to dissuade him from it, but he is resolute. I tell thee, Charles, it is the stubbornest young fellow of France, full of ambition and envious emulator of every man's good parts, a secret and villainous contriver against me, his natural brother. Therefore, use thy discretion. I had as lief let us break his neck as his finger, thou wert best look to it. For if thou dost him any slight disgrace, or if he do not mightily grace himself upon thee, he'll practice against thee by poison, and trap thee by some treacherous device, and never leave thee till he have ta'en thy life by some indirect means or other. For I assure thee, and almost with tears do I speak it, there is not one so young and so villainous this day living. I speak but brotherly of him, but were I to anatomize him to thee as he is, I must blush and weep, and thou must look pale and wonder. So farewell, good Charles. Now will I stir this gamester. I hope I shall see an end of him, for my soul, yet I know not why, hates nothing more than he. Yet he's gentle, never schooled and yet learned, full of noble device, of all sorts enchantingly beloved, in fact, so much in the heart of the world, and especially of my own people, that I am altogether misprized. But it shall not be so long. This vessel shall clear all. All that remains is that I kindle the boy thither, which now I'll go about.
Please welcome to the stage Mark Postgate, presenting Cassius from Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, having been made dictator of Rome, Cassius speaks to Brutus to turn him against his former friend.
While honour is the subject of my story. I cannot tell what you or other men think of this life, but for my single self, I'd as lief not be, as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. I was born free as Caesar, so were you. We both are fed as well, and we can both endure the winter's cold as well as he. For once, upon a raw and gusty day, the troubled Tiber chafing with her shores, Caesar said to me, "Darest thou, Cassius, leap with me into this angry flood and swim to yonder point?" Upon the word, accoutred as I was, I plunged in and bade him follow. So indeed he did. Torrent roared, and we did buffet it, with lusty sinews casting it aside and stemming it apart to controversy. But ere we could reach the point proposed, Caesar cried, "Help me, Cassius, or I sink!" I, as Aeneas, our great ancestor, did from the flames of Troy upon his shoulders the old Anchises bear, so from the waves of Tiber did I the tired Caesar. And now, this man has become a god. Cassius is a wretched creature who must bend his body of Caesar carelessly, but not on him. He had a fever when we were in Spain. Aye, and when the fit was on him, I did mark how he did shake. 'Tis true, this god did shake. His coward lip did from its colour fly, and that same eye of his, whose bend doth o'er the world, did lose his lustre. I heard him groan. Aye, and that tongue of his that bade the Romans mark him and write his speeches in their books. Alas, it cried, "Oh, give me some drink, Titinius," as a sick girl. Ye gods, it doth amaze me that a man of such a feeble temper should so get the start of the majestic world and bear the palm alone.
William Shakespeare did not only fill his plays with poetry in the form of stirring and emotive speeches, but also with a mellifluous melody of song. Roel Fox will now present the song "Come Away, Death," as sung by the fool Feste in the play Twelfth Night.
Come away, death, and in sad cypress let me be laid. Fly away, breath. I'm slain by a fair crew maid, and my shroud of white stuck all with you. Oh, prepare it, my heart of death, so one, so true, did share it. Not a flower sweet on my black coffin let there be strewn. Not a friend grieve my poor corpse where my bones shall be thrown. 1,000 sighs to say.
Kaitlin Howard will now present us with a rendition of the closing song of Love's Labours Lost, When Daisies Pied.
When daisies pied and violets blue, and lady smocks all silver white, and cuckoo birds of yellow hue do paint the meadow with delight, the cuckoo then on every tree mocks married men, mocks married men, mocks married men, for thus sings he, cuckoo, 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 cuckoo. Oh, word of fear, oh, word of fear, unpleasing to a married ear, unpleasing to a married ear.
Returning to our programme of speeches, we welcome Duncan Hess to present Falstaff from Henry IV, Part 2. The errant knight, Sir John Falstaff, laments the lack of impetuosity of his young friend Prince Henry, and extols the virtues of alcohol.
I would you had but the wit, 'twere better than your dukedom. Good faith, this same young sober-blooded boy doth not love me, or a man cannot make him laugh. But that's no marvel, for he drinks no wine. There's never none of these demure boys comes to any proof, for thin drink doth so overcool the blood, and the making of many fish meals, that then they fall into a kind of male green sickness, and when they marry, they get wenches. They're generally fools and cowards, which some of us should be too, but for inflammation. A good sherris sack hath a twofold operation in it. It ascends me to the brain and dries me there all the foolish and dull and cruddy vapours which environ it, makes it apprehensive, quick, forgative, full of nimble, fiery and delectable shapes, which, given over to the voice, the tongue, which is the birth, becomes excellent wit. The second property of your excellent sherris is the warming of the blood, which before cold and settled left the liver white and pale, which is the badge of pusillanimity and cowardice. But the sherris warms it and makes it coarse from the inwards to the parts extremes. It illumineth the face, which, as a beacon, gives warning to all the rest of this little kingdom, man, to arms. Then the vital commoners and inland petty spirits muster me all to their captain, the heart, who, great and puffed up by this retinue, doth any deed of courage. For this valour comes of sherris. So that skill in the weapon is nothing without sack to set it a work, and learning a mere hoard of gold kept by a devil, till sack commences it and sets it in act and use. Hereof comes it that Prince Harry is valiant. For the cold blood he did naturally inherit of his father, he hath, like lean, bare, and sterile land, manured, husbanded, and tilled, with excellent endeavour of drinking good and good store of fertile sherris, that he is become very hot and valiant. If I had 1,000 sons, the first human principle I would teach them should be to forswear thin potations and to addict themselves to sack.
Please welcome Zoe Lambrakis to present Rosalind from As You Like It. The Lady Rosalind, disguised as a shepherd boy, must fend off the advances of a proud and amorous shepherdess.
Why, I pray you? Who might be your mother that you insult, exult, and all at once over the wretched? What, though you have no beauty? As for my faith, I see no more in you than without candle may go dark to bed. Must you therefore be proud and pitiless? Why, what means this? Why do you look on me? I see no more in you than in the ordinary of nature's sail work. Odds my little life, I think she means to tangle my eyes too. No, faith, proud mistress, hope not after it. 'Tis not your inky brows, your black silk hair, your bugle eyeball, nor your cheek of cream that can endear my spirits to your worship. You foolish shepherd, wherefore do you follow her, like foggy south puffing with wind and rain? You are 1,000 times a properer man than she a woman. To such fools as you that make the world full of ill-favoured children. 'Tis not her glass, but you that flatters her, and out of you she sees herself more proper than any of her lineaments can show her. But mistress, know yourself. Down on your knees and thank heaven fasting for a good man's love. For I must tell you friendly, in your ear, sell when you can. You are not for all markets. Cry the man mercy, love him, take his offer. Foul is most foul, being foul to be a scoffer. So take her to thee, shepherd, fare you well. I pray you, do not fall in love with me, for I am falser than vows made in wine. Oh, and besides, I like you not.
And now, please welcome to the stage, Timothy Weston, portraying Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing. Having been tricked by his friends, Benedict now believes his nemesis, the Lady Beatrice, to be in love with him. This can be no trick. The conference was sadly born. They had the truth of this from Hero. They seem to pity the lady. It seems her affections have their full bent. Love me? Why, it must be requited. I hear how I am censured. They say I shall bear myself proudly if I perceive the love come from her. They say, too, that she would rather die than give any sign of affection. I did never think to marry. I must not seem proud. Happy are they that can hear their detractions and put them to mending. They say the lady is fair. 'Tis a truth, I can bear them witness. And virtuous, 'tis so, I cannot reprove it. And wise, but for loving me. By my troth, it is no addition to her wit. Nor no great argument of her folly, for I will be horribly in love with her. I may chance have some odd quirks and remnants of wit broken on me, because I have railed so long against marriage. But does not the appetite alter? A man loves the meat in his youth that he cannot endure in his age. Shall these quips and sentences and paper bullets of the brain awe a man from the condition of his humour? No, the world must be peopled. When I said that I would die a bachelor, I had not thought I should live till I was married. Here comes the Lady Beatrice. By this day, she is a fair lady. I do you spy some marks of love in her? And now, please welcome Kaitlin Howard, presenting Kate from Taming of the Shrew. Catherine, the titular shrew, berates her fellow new brides for their poor conduct.
Fie. Fie. Unknit that threatening, unkind brow, and dart not scornful glances from those eyes to wound thy lord, thy king, thy governor? It blots thy beauty as frosts do by the meads, confounds thy fame as well when Shakespeare buds, and in no sense is meet or amiable. A woman moved is like a fountain, troubled, muddy, thick, ill-seeming, bereft of beauty, and while it is so, none so dry or thirsty will deign to sip or touch one drop of it. Thy husband is thy lord, thy life, thy keeper, thy head, thy sovereign, one that cares for thee and for thy maintenance commits his body to painful labour, both by sea and land, to watch the night in storms, the day in cold, whilst thou liest at home, secure and safe, and craves no other tribute at thy hands but love, fair looks, and true obedience. So little payment for so great a debt. Such duty as a subject owes the prince, even such a woman oweth to her husband, and when she is froward, peevish, sullen, sour, and not obedient to his honest will, well, what is she then but a foul contending rebel and graceless traitor to her loving lord? Oh, I am ashamed that women are so simple to offer war where they should kneel for peace, and seek for rule, supremacy, and sway when we are bound to love, serve, and obey. Why are our bodies soft and weak and smooth, unapt to toil and trouble in this world, but that our soft conditions and our hearts should well agree with our external parts? Oh, come, you froward and unable worms, my mind hath been as big as one of yours, my heart as great, my reason haply more, to bandy word for word and frown for frown. But now I see our lances are but straws, our strength is weak, our weakness past compare, that seeming to be most, which we indeed least are. Then veil your stomachs, for it is no boot, and place your hand below your husband's foot, in token of which duty, if he please, my hand is ready, may it do him ease.
And now, Frederick Arnott will present Bottom from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Nick Bottom, having adventured in fairyland, been transformed into a donkey, and been the lover of the fairy queen, wakes and wonders if it was all a dream.
Yeah. When my cue comes, call me and I will answer, right? My next is Most Fair Pyramus. Hey-ho. Peter Quince, Flew the bellows mender, Snake the tinker, Starveling, God's my life, stolen ents and left me asleep. I have had a most rare vision. I have had a dream past the wit of man to say what dream it was. Man is but an ass if he go about to expound this dream. Oh, me thought I was. There's no man can say what. Me thought I was. Oh, me thought I had. But man is but a patched fool, if you'll offer to say what methought I had. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen, man's hand is not able to taste, his tongue to conceive, his heart to report what my dream was. I will get Peter Quince to write a ballad about this dream, and it will be called Bottom's Dream, right? Yeah? Because it hath no bottom, right? And I will sing it at the latter end of a play before the Duke. Oh, peradventure, being the more gracious, I will sing it at our death.
And for our final speech of the evening, William Simpson will present Prospero from The Tempest. Having amazed the Prince Ferdinand, the exiled magician Prospero dismisses his summoned spirits and reflects on his life.
You do look, my son, in a moved sort, as if you were dismayed. Be cheerful, sir. Our revels now are ended. These our actors, as I foretold you, were all spirits, and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherits shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave but a wreck behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Sir, I am vexed. Bear with my weakness. My brain is troubled. If you be pleased, retire into my cell and there retire. A turn or two I'll walk to still my beating mind.
Right, thank you everyone, and thank you all to the wonderful cast of people who presented such a wide range of Shakespeare's monologues and speeches for us this evening. I hope you all enjoyed them. Now comes the time for our question and answer session. So if anyone has any questions, they can message them direct to me, Heather, with the name of the character that the question is directed to, and I will read them out. So I'll give you all a couple of seconds to think, and I think it might be appropriate, I hope Tim will let me do this, for everyone to unmute now just for a quick round of applause and then put yourselves back on mute, because I think that was wonderful. Thank you so much, anyone and everyone, and questions direct to me, please. So thank you. Okay, I have a few questions coming in. So, if I could ask people in the audience to put themselves back on mute, I have some questions coming in.
A significant reduction in the supply of Jack's.
So let's have a look and see. I think I will address this one to Timothy first, and if he wants to then hand over to anyone else, he can do so. So I've got a question saying, how do the performing nerves on Zoom compare with doing on a stage? So Tim, if you'd like to take over, and then maybe if you'd like to hand that over to someone else as well, that would be wonderful.
Well, I think it's somewhat unique. The nerves are on stage, as you can see the audience, but you also get a feedback from that that adrenaline. You have that engagement. Whereas a lot of the nerves on Zoom are: is the internet connection going to remain stable? Is all this tech that I'm working by myself going to hold together? Yes, I will hand over to I think anyone who wants to answer. Anyone can put their hand up for an answer.
Yeah, I think you explained it really well. It's a case of, it's more the tech worries. Am I on mute? Is my camera okay? Is it going to fall over where I've precariously perched it for the performance? But having done a lot of Zoom reads, it's really still a joy to have people to look at when you do play reads, or knowing that there are other people on the end watching and vibing with you. So that's still fun.
Thank you. Again, I might let Tim direct on this one, but I would like to ask, because I was aware that some of the casting for this evening's performance was maybe a little unusual and allowed you to try out some different roles. I'm struggling to remember the names now, so that's why I'm going to hand it over to Tim. But if there's anyone who was able to play a role that they hadn't had the opportunity to do before, maybe a different gender or age, I'd love to hear back what that was like, and if it in some ways was a bit more freeing than perhaps doing a traditional stage performance.
I think the three people ideally to answer this, because they mentioned it specifically, were Kit McGuire, Rosalyn Mitchell, and Hugh Brentnall.
Thank you.
And possibly Emily as well.
Yes, and Emily McCormick, even though she hadn't explicitly said.
If any of you would like to give me an answer on that one, or your feelings, I would be very happy to hear.
I'm happy to go first if you want. With this one, yeah, it was very exciting, because Richard III is a part that I would love to play, and I love the play, I love the character, I love how it's written, I love everything about it. But I don't really feel comfortable playing it as an able-bodied actor, and especially because my father's disabled, and I've spoken to him kind of at length about it, and but it's interesting because he is kind of the opinion that acting is acting, and you do what you need to do, and it doesn't bother him. But I kind of respectfully disagree. I think it's hard enough for disabled actors to get cast in things anyway, without able-bodied people kind of putting it on. So this, I thought, would be a nice opportunity to do that monologue, which I love, without kind of taking anyone else's place. And yeah, maybe one day I'd like to direct it. I probably won't play Richard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Hamlet is written as a male character, but I think it's universal. I think his storyline, or the storyline of Hamlet, is relatable to anybody who's felt depressed or suicidal or has lost a family member. I don't think it matters whether you're who you are. I think that speech, especially To Be or Not to Be, we have all been there in our lives, and it's such a simple speech and it doesn't need much. And I've always wanted to play Hamlet. You know, I'm an East London girl with a broad accent when I get irate, like, so and I would love that to happen one day. But patience is a virtue. So I think with Shakespeare, if you feel the monologue and you feel it, go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter what the age or gender. Don't let it stop you, unless of course there's something written in the character. like Othello, for example, and things like that. But that would be my stance on choosing Hamlet.
Okay, I have a question to Angelo from Cass. Would you say he was a good man who had fallen to power, or the opposite?
Ooh, good question. I think he is a good man who's fallen to power. I think he's somebody who started off at the bottom of the ladder and actually is afraid of considering how far he's come and the lucky breaks he's had and people he's met and luck and luck having a lot to do with it. I think that actually he's afraid of falling back down again, and there's nothing he won't do to keep his newfound position.
Thank you.
Mm.
Okay. Anyone else got any questions? We've had some really interesting ones. I've got one which is just a general one to all of the cast from Ariella, just congratulating you for a wonderful performance. So thank you so much for that. And I was just wondering, as a general question, Shakespeare, I would get the impression, was someone who was willing to embrace new technology. If he was around in this day and age, what do you think he would have made of Zoom and the things available to him?
I think that that Shakespeare would very much have enjoyed the embracing of new technology. I think that if he were alive today, he'd be very keen. He'd be in total constant demand to write all the films and all the television series. I think that that most showrunners for ongoing TV series would kill to employ him.
I think that Shakespeare, if he were alive today, would be thinking, how do I make money out of this? Just because that's what his attitude was to most things when he was alive.
Yeah. Okay, I think that. Oh, hang on, we've got some more questions popped in.
I was just going to add to that actually that that Romeo and Juliet might have ended very differently because the message might have got through.
General question from Ariella is, yes, we are hoping to make this performance available on YouTube. Give us a few days to edit everything, and then hopefully we'll be able to upload it onto our channel in the next few days. And I've got a question from Eliza, which says, do any of the actors have any upcoming plays?
I will be in Exit the King at the Etc. Theatre in May. I think May the 17th. I don't have the dates directly to hand because it's a million years in the future, and I've been doing this.
I am on an app called Clubhouse, and the creators on Clubhouse have managed to do some incredible productions there. We've had everything from Dreamgirls to The Lion King and so forth, and I've been in a few productions already, and we're hoping to do Lysistrata, funnily enough, in the next few weeks. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, go ahead, Kate. Go for it, Kaitlin. Go for it. She's like, go for it.
It's the problem with Zoom. It's like I.
Go for it, babe.
So outside of being an actor as well, I am a fight director, and I'm actually going to be involved in doing the fights for a production of King Lear, which is happening just outside Worcester in a lovely stately home. It's with Here to There Productions, and they always do a Shakespeare in the summer, so check it out. And I'm going to be doing some gory eye popping in that, so yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
That's just at home. So
that sounds wonderful. My parents live in Worcester, so I'll have to get the address of the stately home. What else do we have? I have a question here. Again, sorry, a lot of these coming through to all of you, so everyone's equally impressed with all of you. So I might start off with Tim on this one. Are you a company of actors who normally perform together?
Well, a lot of us know each other from the Cambridge Shakespeare Festival, which is an outdoor Shakespeare festival that runs every summer in normal times. But mostly we've been performing of late over Zoom, doing Zoom Shakespeare readings. But we're not an official company. We're just kind of all know each other as actors, and thought it would be a bit of laugh to do this.
Yeah, it's been just to add to that, sorry, the Zoom Shakespeare readings have been an absolute godsend, I think, for a lot of us during lockdown, and it's been such a lovely thing to have a community of people. Like the two of us, myself and Jacob, we have never met any of the other actors in person. We have been sort of spending lots of time together through Shakespeare over Zoom. So it's such a wonderful community of people to have, and yeah, fingers crossed we'll get together in person and perform as a company on a real stage soon. But I've got everything crossed.
Yeah, to go back to the thing about the difference between doing stuff on Zoom to doing other stuff before pandemic times, one of the great gifts has been connecting with all of this talented bunch of people, because again, I didn't know any of this lot before the pandemic, and it's been one of these great things where we've been able to connect with new people and create some really cool stuff, which I think is just really exciting and kind of in the spirit of Shakespeare, really.
Well, there seems to be an appetite for it, because I have many messages of appreciation and one saying, when's the next one of these happening? So, okay, and I've got a great many thank yous. I've got lots of people saying that it's been a delight. They've enjoyed it so much. It's been very enjoyable. Congratulations to all of you. So, yeah, I think.
Well, if my actors would like to go off stage before we leave, we do have a little outro to do. If we got left on stage. Let's see. Jonathan, if you'd be able to pop off the video for a second. And Heather, I might ask you to do the same. Just for our little ending thank you bit. If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you have but slumbered here while these visions did appear, and this weak and idle theme, no more yielding, but a dream. Gentles, do not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend, as I am an honest puck. If we have unearned luck, now to escape the serpent's tongue, we shall make amends ere long. Else the puck a liar call. And so, good night unto you all. Give me your hands, if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends. I would like to welcome back onto our stage our wonderful performers, Honey Gabriel, Emily McCormick, Sorrel Brown, Hugh Brentnall, Roel Fox, Rosalyn Mitchell, Gareth Luellan, Jonathan Cooper, Kit McGuire, Mimi Brown, Jacob Bedford, Mark Postgate, Duncan Hess, Zoylan Barakas, Kaitlin Howard, Frederick Arnott, and William Simpson. Also, a great hand for a brilliant coordinator, Heather Shepherd of Wandsworth Libraries. And I've been your host, Timothy Weston, and thank you and good night. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. That's the end. You can go now.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. I can see what we've, for the messages we had, you've had a wonderful evening. And I will wish you Godspeed, as Shakespeare might have said, and hopefully we will meet again at some point. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And good night.